Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Today we're talking about part 2 of the clamp saga at Old Sneelock's Workshop. Yes, I do have a lot of clamps. This is just a representative sample of the different styles and types of clamps that I have. I have multiples of each one of these, sometimes just one more, sometimes many more. But it's mostly depends on what's available at the place I'm at. I go to garage sales, I go to antique shops, I go to flea markets. I like to buy them inexpensively. I don't want to spend a lot of money on clamps. There's only a few in here that I bought new. And over the years I've always said, if you can't think of anything to give me for Christmas, give me clamps. I had looked at these clamps and thought, well, that's kind of old-fashioned and I don't really need these. Because at the time I wasn't doing old tools. I was working as an engineer, trying to fabricate things, and I was using a lot of C-clamps because I was doing a lot of welding. I wasn't doing much woodworking. A few years back I saw Dave Barton using one of these on his bench to hold something in place. And I thought, well, that's a handy use. So when I saw this Craftsman sitting on a bench, I snatched it up. You can set this on the bench, holding the part. Clamp it in place. Loosen it up. Put it back in. Tighten it up. That does a nice handy little fixture. You can edge plane, you can do all kinds of things, chop a mortise. Does a great job. When I saw Dave using it, I said it's got to be a good idea, so I got me one. Because I think clamps work better in sets of 2, and I only found this one Craftsman at the one place I was at, the next time I saw one, I picked it up. Now this is a Craftsman, and this is a Jorgensen. Two dramatically different companies. Craftsman, low-end, hobby shop kind of thing. Jorgensen, this is something that a professional would have bought. This one's probably 5 times older than the Craftsman, but it still works really well. And the Craftsman it's functional. One day as I was cruising through an antique shop, I found this old clamp and its brother. These are big ones. They're very, very old, and they look to be something that was made in a factory. Doesn't look like handwork. But somebody at some time decided that this thread was broken, or they needed to have a new handle on it, or whatever reason. This one has a different handle than this one, so I'm assuming they made the whole thread. But they're very nice clamps to have. I don't use them a lot. When I do need them, they're handy. They actually work. Requirement for being in Old Sneelock's Workshop, it has to work. But they do operate differently. They do operate differently than the Craftsman and the Jorgensen. The Craftsman and the Jorgensen have metal screws. And they also have right-hand threads and left-hand threads. So you can take this clamp and spin it like that and open it up. If I waxed these screws, I bet it would work better. This one operates differently. One rod is threaded in to the body of this block. This one is threaded into the same body. This one gets tightened up onto the object to be clamped. And then this one is tightened up, and it uses this as a fulcrum to bring the two pieces together. It requires a bit more finesse because it only clamps up just a very limited range. In other words, if I were to try and have this open 2 inches at the bottom and clamp tight at the top, it won't do it. It'll just lock up. Good way to break this thread. But a craftsman could make this in his home shop. A good piece of wood, make the jaws, thread this block in 2 places, screw these into it, and you would have a clamp that would do a very good job, had a lot of pressure to it, held well. One thing you always want to do with a clamp like this, you want to leave it loose. If you tighten it up and leave it sit tightened up, the wood will swell with moisture and break this bolt. Imagine that's why this particular bolt was replaced. Somebody left it tightened up. Now this is kind of an odd piece. Not many people would have a use for it. I've found a use for it over the years. It's just a long reach C-clamp. When I talk about capacity of the clamp, whenever you open up the beam this far, you reduce the capacity of the clamp by a tremendous amount, because it's always the leverage. This clamp versus this clamp. This clamp is a lot stronger, even though it's a casting and not very strong at all. This one is weaker yet. So why would I have a clamp that's really weak? Sometimes you just want to reach out in the middle and hold a piece in place while you do some fabrication. Maybe you want to put some glue on it. Maybe you want to start a screw. Maybe you just need to clamp it down so it'll hold in place while you're taking a picture of it. These are actually very, very handy. They can be replaced by a parallel clamp like this, because this parallel clamp will reach over quite a distance, and by putting a couple of blocks in the end of it, you can make it function very similar to this one. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any suggestions for any new videos or questions about this video or any of the other videos in the series, just drop a note in the comments below. You know I read them all.